Welcome back to The Explainer. Today, we're jumping right into one of the most wild and complex extraterrestrial dossiers out there in modern esoteric literature. Whether you're a longtime follower of this kind of lore or you're just endlessly curious about how these cosmic mythologies are built, you're in the right place. We are unpacking the incredibly fascinating profile of a group known as the Vegans. Now, just to set the stage, absolutely everything we're exploring today comes straight out of Chapter 4 of a very specific spiritual and ufology text, Conversations with Space People. What's really unique about this book is that it treats extraterrestrial encounters as profound spiritual dialogues, rather than just physical nuts and bolts sightings. And today we're focusing entirely on a detailed conversation with a being from the Lyra constellation. So here is our agenda for The Explainer. We're going to cover 1. The origins of the Vegans, 2. The power of thought, 3. Their absolute condemnation of alien interventions, and 4. Their ultimate mission. All right, let's kick things off with Section 1, The Origins of the Vegans. What's super interesting here is that this text doesn't just treat these beings as typical space travelers. They are actually framed as spiritual migrants. According to the lore, the Vegans didn't even start out in the Lyra constellation. They originally hailed from Venus, but when survival became impossible there, they migrated to the Vega star system. Fast forward a bit, and they eventually make their way to Earth, undergoing human reincarnations, which the text actually refers to as human training. They've done this several times, most notably in Japan. So why go through all of that? Well, the source claims these earthly incarnations are absolutely not random. They are explicitly here to prep for an approaching time when a high-level spiritual figure, known in the text as El Cantare, will actively guide humanity. Basically, they position themselves here on Earth to be ready for this exact event. Moving right along to Section 2, The Power of Thought. Okay, this is where the lore gets incredibly cool. The book uses this philosophical term to describe how the Vegans operate, called Ichinin Sanzen. It roughly translates to the idea that 3,000 realms exist in a single moment of life. But here's the kicker. For the Vegans, this isn't just philosophy, it's literal physics. Their inner thoughts instantaneously manifest in their physical appearance. They're the ultimate chameleons, driven purely by their own consciousness. Think about it like this. We humans are pretty fixed, right? Our bodies are dense and, relatively static. The text explicitly contrasts that with the Vegans, describing their true form as being half spirit and half physical. Their physical bodies have essentially become so spiritualized that they have an extreme level of fluidity. To put this into perspective, it is wild. The source lists some astonishing examples of what they can become. If they think of an animal, boom, they become it. Dinosaurs? Sure. Astronauts in spacesuits? Angels? Even demons. They can actually achieve simultaneous multi-location existences, which the text compares to those multi-armed deities you see in ancient traditions. For the Vegans, their entire existence is centered on change and diversity. It's not about linear evolution for them. It's about instant, thought-based transformation. Okay, on to Section 3, Condemning Alien Interventions. So, despite all this mind-bending power, the Vegans actually have a massive ethical problem with certain other alien groups. The text provides this really visceral quote, stating that rogue aliens are, quote, treating humans as experimental animals. It paints a picture of this giant cosmic ethical divide where the Vegans are acting almost like intergalactic whistleblowers. And the lore gets really specific about what the Vegans consider highly illegal. Honestly, it reads like a greatest hits of sci-fi tropes. We're talking about forced sleep abductions, using tractor beams that pull you right out of bed, embedding tracking chips like humans are migrating birds, genetic manipulation to create hybrids, and wiping people's memories so victims just think they have a sleep disorder. The text basically equates these rogue extraterrestrials to smugglers or human traffickers operating in the shadows. Because of that, the Vegans themselves maintain a strict adherence to non-intervention. Even with tech and spiritual abilities that are light years beyond ours, their ethical code completely forbids them from directly manipulating Earth's civilization. The text is super clear about this. You do not interfere with a living human society unless you have explicit, high-level spiritual permission to do so. Which brings us to our final part, Section 4, The Ultimate Mission. So here's the million-dollar question. If they aren't here to abduct people, or manipulate our society, why bother coming to Earth? If your biology allows you to literally shapeshift based on thought alone,
What could you possibly need from a comparatively primitive planet like ours?
Well, the text gives a really profound answer. For all their infinite shape-shifting, the vegans admit they actually lack one fundamental capability. They don't know the primordial law of creating something from nothing. They can manipulate, they can transform existing matter in infinite ways, but they literally cannot perform true 0 to 1 creation.
And that brings us to the whole point of their dossier. According to the lore, learning this ultimate primordial law, which they call Alpha's Law, is the absolute sole reason for their mission on Earth. They came here specifically to learn this root law of creation directly from the teachings of El Cantare. So even with all their unimaginable advancements, they're basically here as students trying to learn the universe's deepest spiritual mechanics.
So let's leave off with a thought to chew on. It's an amazing intersection of sci-fi tech and esoteric spiritual evolution. It challenges us to ask, if a civilization truly masters the physical realm to the point where a thought instantly becomes reality, does the final frontier completely cease to be technological? Does it just become purely about the spiritual genesis of creation itself? It's a massive concept to wrap your head around, and it's brilliantly laid out in this text. Thanks for joining me on this explainer, and keep exploring the incredible frameworks of our universe.